All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Again, we're at the range. We're in the same stuff that you'll be seeing in several videos. You'll notice I also have a little pendant here of my GoPro. I'm just trying to see if it brings something different to the camera angles. Not sure if you'll see it, but we'll find out. So today, I'm gonna be kind of doing the comparison between the Tisss PX9 and the VP9 from HK. So the reason why I wanted to do this was because the HK runs you about $500 used, depending where you look, all the way up to potentially $1,000. So it's an expensive gun still, even though you really haven't seen monumental changes over the past several years with this firearm. But then introduced the Tisss PX9. Here you have basically what seems to be more or less an XD clone, but at the same time it costs about, depending on where you buy it, 300 bucks. And there's a lot of features of this gun that kind of resemble the VP9, and I will tell you the trigger on this is pretty fantastic. The overall quality is, you'll notice I removed the plate on top because I took the optic off to make this a little bit more fair in regards to shooting. But I think it's gonna be a surprising video for a lot who kind of discount guns like this in order to buy the more expensive name brand guns like this. Not saying there's anything wrong with the VP9, but I'd have to say I've been far from disappointed with this PX9. It's actually a very, very solid gun, very well built. So we're gonna shoot both, we'll compare both, and then we'll bring it back to the table and we'll finish it off there. So here we go. All right, guys, so we're gonna start with the PX9. We'll see if we can do a combat load, and it does. So let's take a look and see how this one shoots. Wow, I missed a lot. That's on me. And here's the VP9. See if we can do a combat load. Oh, man. There we go. There we go. And that was it. So, not bad. Now, what do I feel? Well, this is definitely a little bit snappy. It feels a little snappier to me. Interestingly enough, the panels that I put on both of these are an identical configuration, medium backstrap with a little bit of a palm swell on the right. Same thing with this one here. Interestingly enough, I have to say, a lot less travel distance on the trigger for the PX9. A little bit longer, but both are very good. So we're gonna reload and we'll put some more through it and see what we can do. All right, so here we go again, round 2. And let's see what we got. So we'll try this one again. Oh, man. There we go. Nice. Really nice. You know what I think the difference is between this and the VP9? I feel like you're just getting a little bit more underneath the slide. I feel like my grip is a little bit higher on this. The undercut for your middle finger here is also a little bit deeper. So you really just get a nice bite on the grip. Yeah, I do like that gun. Let's try the VP9. And that was the VP9, but man, that feels good too. And I have to say I'm a little bit more accurate with the VP9. I like the trigger shape on this. It's interesting. Really interesting. I mean, it definitely has more muzzle flip than this one. You can actually feel a little bit of a slight weight difference in the grip, but overall they shoot really well. This sight picture on this isn't as good as this one. I have to say the VP9 sight picture is really nice. But yeah, they're both really, really good firearms. But is this one worth like, you know, $400 or $500 more? I'm not really sure. I'd say that for 400 bucks, less than 400 bucks, $300. I mean, this is pretty damn good deal. All right.
All right, guys. So I'm back at the table here, and you guys can tell that the gun is, or both guns, have been field stripped. The reason why I decided to field strip them was because I wanted to show you the internal components. Like I can show you the external pieces and everything, and it might look very pretty. But at the end of the day, it's going to be about what is so different between the two. I mean, is there really that much of a significant difference? And I'm going to tell you off the bat that, excuse me, that really the major difference between the two is whether or not you can stomach buying a sub $300 gun, or if you want to go buy brand name. And that's going to be a significant difference. I mean, for the most part, the guns are built very well. So you can see the green one, which is the Tisss, and of course the brown one, which is the VP9. But again, everything looks solid. I mean, there doesn't look to be like any construction problems. The steel looks like they're in good shape. No real issues. The only major difference that I see on the Tisss is that on the back part of this, where the slide will run, the rails for the slide are actually made out of polymer that are infused with some form of metal, which I can only assume would be steel. So while the VP9 has all steel rails, the Tisss PX9 does not. So I guess you can give a minus to this versus this one. Now, in regards to both slides, again, not a heck of a lot of difference in the construction of the slides. The steel feels really good. It's all, considered, good manufacturing. So whatever you want to call that. But the Tisss, as you guys can see, this sucker has about, I'd say probably about 500 rounds. Let me just zoom out a little bit so you can see a little bit better. But this one has about 500 rounds on it. And you can see there's not a heck of a lot of wear on the Cerakote or any of the internals. I am noticing some of the Cerakote is starting to fade right about here, right in the front of the gun. But nothing else, nothing significant. The ejector works great, no problems. The brass shoots out really well. And you can also see that you do have it set up for an optic mount if you choose to. In this case, you do not need a plate for it because these are all cut with a Trijicon arm or footprint. Also, Glock sights are a plus. So if you have Glock sights running around, that's pretty awesome. The VP9 slide, guys, again, anything you see here in regards to wear, there's just not much happening. It's a very, very clean looking slide. No real wear and tear. Again, all the components work and function great. So I don't really have an issue with that either. I mean, like I said, both guns have been built like tanks. In regards to barrels, the one on the bottom is the VP9. This is the Tisss PX9. And again, not a lot of wear and tear on these barrels. The VP9 I got used, so I couldn't tell you what the round count was before I got it, but right now it's got about 200 rounds from me. The Tisss PX9, maybe if I get that right, that'd be great. The Tisss PX9 has about 500 plus rounds through it. Not a lot of wear. It's really, really in good shape. You can see there's not a lot of spiraling or anything really on the barrel. So it looks pretty good. So, I mean, overall, if I'm going to pick a gun, the gun has to be what you guys want, right? So when you're picking a gun, you really just have to get past the idea that you might actually buy a gun that's less than $300. And while that might sound crazy because, you've got your VP9, which has got a great track record and has those two magical letters in it, HK, the Tisss PX9 is no slouch either. I mean, it's going to be based upon what you guys want for yourselves. Some people like the idea of having a name brand firearm, and I think that's okay. Some people don't really care about that stuff. They just want something that's reliable. I mean, at the end of the day, the thing that would hold me back, depending on what gun I was picking, would be the track record. Right now, there's not much of a track record with this gun. It's been out for a while, but not a lot of people talk about it. They talk about Taurus and everything else, Canik and all those other fine guns, but they don't talk about these. And it's kind of a shame because it is a very, very well-built, constructed firearm, a very well, just a nicely well-built gun. I mean, the trigger's really good. The ergonomics are good, and the options on this gun are very good as well. However, the VP9 is going to kill it in every attempt possible when it comes to track record because the VP9 is just that much good, is that much better in regards to their history and the longevity of their pistols. So really, it's going to be based upon that. Are you going to give yourself the opportunity to buy a sub $300 gun that doesn't necessarily have a major track record versus one that does? The second part of this also is going to always be about warranty. This supposedly would go back to SDS imports, and any warranty issues, you would send it to them. HK, you send it back to wherever you got to send it to, and then hopefully you see the gun again. But since, everybody thinks these are perfect, you really wouldn't have to do that. The other thing is going to be aftermarket support. So there are some positives to this, but there's glaring negatives. So it would be holsters. So right now I have a P320, and that was for the X carry, and that holster works for this gun. So SIG holsters do work. I've also heard that XD holsters work with this as well, which is kind of interesting, but I don't have one to try, so I couldn't tell you on that. VP9, no problems with holsters. Sight-wise, so you're in luck because these are Glock sights. These are HK sights. So you can use anything from Trijicon to Meprolite to whatever. In this case, same thing for these, but there might be a slight price difference between the HK sights versus, Glock sights. Magazines, again, you can get a magazine from HK, right? And, this maxes out at 17 rounds, which was kind of the controversy of this gun when it first came out, because people were always saying, well, why does it only take 15 rounds? Now you can get a 17 round magazine and stuff them in there. So that's pretty cool. In regards to the Tisss PX9, 18 rounds from a P226 works fine. As a matter of fact, these magazines come standard, and these are P226 magazines. So that's pretty cool as well. So from that regard, it's not too bad for either one. There's a lot of possibilities here. So when it comes to the trigger pull, both of these guns have very good triggers. Now, I'm going to rack both slides just so you can see what I've noticed when shooting the guns side by side. So the trigger pull on both is very good. However, the length of trigger pull on the VP9 versus the PX9 is much longer. So you can see it just keeps going right there. The PX9 is much shorter. Both brakes are very clean. The reset on the PX9 is very nice, fairly short, not as short as I'd say like the PDP or something like that, but pretty darn short. And the VP9 is a little bit longer, a little bit more pronounced of a push, but still, both triggers are above average. So, if you're a trigger snob, you might actually like this trigger better. One of the things I'm noticing is most Turkish guns have some of the best triggers out there, so this should not come as a surprise, because this trigger, in my opinion, is a little bit better than the VP9. Overall, the aesthetic value of both guns is very good. They both look very nice. This one and this one both come with removable side grip panels as well as back straps. They come small, medium, large, so you can kind of configure it any way you want. So that's kind of cool as well. Again, the slide serrations on both are kind of, they're not that great. All right, these are terrible. These are barely cut, as you guys can see. But again, that's probably why you're seeing a little bit of a cheaper price on this type of firearm. In regards to the VP9, very, very, very decent looking. But again, not super deep in regards to the cuts. Nothing like some of the new modern guns that are coming out right now. But overall, which is the better gun? That's going to have to be up to you. I think you can't go wrong with either one of these guns. Again, I have had no issues with this. This has shot everything and anything. No failures whatsoever after 500 plus. This has got 200, no failures in it as well. But overall, I shoot both, I think, fairly decently. I do like the way this feels in my hand, and I do like the trigger a little bit better on this, but interestingly enough, I shoot this a little bit better. So, that's basically what I've found and kind of what I've thought about. So leave some comments down below. Tell me what your thoughts are. Would you spend less than $300 on a gun like this if, let's say, it was your first gun, or maybe you just wanted to try something new? I would recommend it because I think it's going to be a solid performer. But again, the VP9 has a lot of followers, guys. People love them. So leave those comments down below. Tell me which one you would go with and why. And if you haven't gone with either, why haven't you? But overall, both guns solid. I definitely like both. Definitely will be keeping both. And I look forward to shooting these more and just having more time with them. So I hope you have a great night. Stay safe. And as always, everyone, freedom is never free.